All right. It is merely 3.5 hours, 4 hours before Shabbos, and I meant to go live this morning at 9, but I was too tired. So, and I'm not going live tonight, obviously. So I'm just going to be here for 5 minutes, 7 minutes to talk about respect. And today it's exciting because I'm going to do this without notes. The other nights I wrote down some thoughts, I wrote down some ideas. I'm going to see what comes up on its own. So, if you're wondering how is she able to go live on Erev Shabbos, well, you know, it didn't come from, I cleaned late last night, and not making a lot of food. So just because I'm doing this now doesn't mean that if you are not able to and you can't understand how I'm doing it, don't worry. So when I talk about respect, when I think about respect, I think that the typical way that we understand respect is actually the real meaning for the word fear. And in most cases, when we talk about, respect, that children have to respect their parents, or that people should respect me, or that we have this strong push that we need to teach our kids to respect us. And very often that gets mixed up with fear. And truthfully, we don't want our children to fear us, right? We just talked about this yesterday when we talked about safety. We don't want our children to fear us. We want them to feel safe with us. So what does respect actually mean? To me, the term respect actually means having a strong awareness of another human being, having a strong cognizance of another person's world, of another person's boundaries. Recognizing that they are their own human being, they are their own person, and I don't have permission to just step into their world in any way without, so to speak, their consent. When I say consent, I don't mean that we have to ask them permission. When I say consent, I mean without the sensitivity of recognizing that we're interacting with another person and giving that, respect. So for example, if we're going out the door and I'm getting my child's coat on, respect in that moment would mean that I take even a second when I can. We can't do it all the time, but when I can, I take a second and I say to myself, this is my child's body. I'm about to do something to their body that they may not appreciate, and then we could argue about whether or not they need to wear the coat, but let's say they had to. And I'm about to do something with them, and I just want to remember that their body is their own, and so I'm going to approach with a sense of sensitivity, with more gentleness, and holding space for the awareness that they are their own person and their body is their own. And this gets a little more nuanced, but the same applies to when we enter our child's emotional world. If our child has shared something with us, and then we come and we, deny their experience, or we invalidate what they said, what we have actually done is we've entered their emotional world without permission, without consent, and without sensitivity or respect. And the way that would look like if it was when we bring respect into that interaction, it's this cognizance inside of me that my child has a feeling in their emotional world, and I do not have permission to come into their emotional world and discount how they feel. So that to me is what respect looks like. It also looks like the awareness that our child has their own identity and their own personality. And do we have permission to decide and to kind of label who they are? To say, oh, she's so shy. Or even compliments. Let's just say, oh, he is so capable. Maybe that's for each person to decide who they are. And just because we're their parents doesn't mean that we get to come and give labels to who they are, their identity. So to me, respect is the farthest thing from the way that it's usually understood to be. And when I think about respect, I think about it more as something that I give to my child, and not as much something that they have to give me. That's something that I expect them to give me. The natural result and the natural outcome of treating a child with respect, with that cognizance of they are their own person, they are their own human being, and just because they're a child doesn't mean that I can come in and decide who they are and decide who they should be or decide how they should feel or argue with what they experience as reality. The more I can be aware that when I have to interact with them in a way that, is doing something with their body, that I respect that their body is their own. And so when I'm going to interact, I'm going to interact with a sense of I feel like the word that keeps coming up, this cognizance, this recognition that I walk gently and I walk sensitively when I enter that world. Let's say I'm putting my child in a car seat, and that really is not a choice. Like, they need to be in the car seat. But when I'm putting them in with this awareness, this deep awareness, the way I put them in is going to be very, very different than when I do not have that awareness. When we do that, very often it fosters a natural sense of respect from our children to us. The expectation that children should respect their parents, I'm going to say something that maybe is going to come across as controversial in certain circles. But is it something that we are meant to make our children do? Make them respect us? Or is it a directive to us, their parents, that we create the environment and the relationship and the safety in which a child naturally wants to be respectful to their parents in the long run? A child naturally wants to consider their parents' opinion. A child naturally wants to contribute as much as they're able to, and so on. So is it about making our children be respectful, or is it about us owning our responsibility as parents, us owning the responsibility to create safety and connection in the relationship? It is not our child's responsibility to take care of the relationship between parent and child. And so when we fulfill that responsibility and we hold our responsibility and we treat our children respectfully, it'll be easy for them to interact that way as well. So that's what I have to say about respect. Looking forward to being here tomorrow night, 10:30. 2 more topics to cover: trust and connection. Very excited about those. Have a wonderful Shabbos and a happy Chanukah. Let me see what I missed here. Some beautiful comments. So powerful. Thank you so much for sharing this. Labels can be so devastatingly boxing in ourselves and or our children. Yes, thank you so much. Have a good Shabbos and a happy Chanukah.